Title: The Sulfur Promise. Under the door. The dream was always the same. An endless corridor, so dark that sight gave up after only a few feet. A smell of dampness and sulfur permeated the air, heavy, almost palpable. And then, the whisper. A thread of a masculine voice, dragging, that seemed to emanate from the decaying wood under a door at the end of the corridor. Always the same door. Always the same whisper. At first, I ignored it. I would wake up soaked in cold sweat, my heart beating like a war drum, and I would convince myself that it was just a recurring nightmare, a product of stress and fatigue. But the whisper grew more insistent, clearer, more personal. It was no longer an incomprehensible murmur, but words that seemed directed straight to my soul. "Come closer," it said. "I have something to tell you." I shook my head, covered my ears, tried to wake up, but the whisper persisted, piercing the barrier of sleep, slithering into my consciousness like a venomous snake. I knew that, sooner or later, I would succumb to its call. Curiosity, or perhaps a twisted form of self-punishment, gnawed at me from within. One night, finally, I got up. The house was silent, a sepulchral silence that amplified the furious beating of my heart. Every creak of the wood, every dancing shadow, seemed like a warning, a presage of what awaited me. I headed to the corridor. The same darkness, the same nauseating smell. And at the end, the door. The wood, dark and cracked, seemed to plead for a breath, for a little light. The whisper, now louder, more seductive, called to me from the other side. "Come. I'm waiting for you." With a trembling hand, I approached the door. The handle, cold and metallic, felt like the touch of death. I turned it slowly, feeling the hinges creak in a funereal protest. The door opened, revealing a darkness even deeper than that of the corridor. An unfathomable darkness that seemed to absorb light, hope, life itself. There was nothing visible, only the promise of an endless abyss. The whisper turned into a hoarse voice, filled with an ancestral resentment. "I know what you did." Fear paralyzed me. It was an accusation, a condemnation. But what had I done? I tried to remember, to search in the recesses of my memory, but I only found disjointed fragments, shadows of memories that slipped through my fingers. A shadow slid under the door, reaching out to me like a claw. It was a shapeless shadow, without defined contours, but I felt its presence, its evil, its intention. I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs were rooted to the ground. I was trapped, condemned to face what was hidden behind that door. The voice, now a guttural growl, continued. "You hid it. You buried it. But you cannot escape the truth." The shadow came closer, enveloping me in its icy embrace. I felt an intense cold that chilled to the bone, that stole my breath. Suddenly, an image flashed in my mind. A flash, of memory, so vivid that it hurt. An accident. A scream. Blood. Silence. Horror. I had run someone over. A child. And I had hidden it. I had buried it, along with my conscience. The shadow merged with me, penetrating my soul, revealing the truth that I had tried to deny for so many years. The whisper turned into a stifled scream, a scream of pain, of guilt, of regret. A scream that resonated in the void of my condemned soul. I woke up in my bed, bathed in sweat, my heart racing. The house was silent, but it was no longer a reassuring silence. It was a silence charged with omens, a silence that contained the echo of the stifled scream, the weight of my secret. I got up, staggering, and went to the mirror. My face was pale, gaunt, marked by guilt. My eyes, once full of life, now reflected the darkness that dwelled within me. I knew the whisper would return. I knew the shadow would pursue me forever. I had opened the door to the abyss, and now the abyss was staring back at me. But this time, I would not try to escape. This time, I would face the truth. I would go to the police. I would confess my crime. I would pay for what I had done. Perhaps, only perhaps, by confessing my sin, I could find some peace. Perhaps, only perhaps, I could silence the whisper forever. But deep down, I knew that the stifled scream would resonate eternally in my soul. I knew that the sulfur promise under the door was a perpetual condemnation. And I knew that, in the end, the darkness would claim me. Because the truth, once unearthed, can never be buried again. And the guilt, once felt, can never be forgotten.